could actually be rigged. He was speaking to a group of supporters in Altoona, Pennsylvania Friday night. He said the only way that he would lose there is if his opponent, Hillary Clinton, cheats in the state.
The only way we can lose, in my opinion, I really mean this, Pennsylvania, is if cheating goes on. I really believe it. And that's the way we can lose the state. And we have to call up law enforcement, and we have to have the sheriffs and the police chiefs and everybody watching. Because if we get cheated out of this election, if we get cheated out of a win in Pennsylvania, which is such a vital state, especially when I know what's happening here, folks. I know she can't beat what's happening here.
Well, a recent poll from that battleground state has Donald Trump down by 11 points. It's just one of the swing states that he's currently trailing Clinton in. And joining me now from Washington is roll call columnist John Allen. Okay, John, it seems like as the polls widen, we hear more and more about these allegations that he's alluding to about the elections being rigged. We've heard it a number of times on the campaign trail. But most recently, last night, what do you make of this?
I think Donald Trump is setting America on a course for an angry election no matter what happens. The interpretation that him losing Pennsylvania would be due to voter fraud is completely unfounded. There are almost no examples of voter fraud nationally or in Pennsylvania in recent elections. In the last 6 elections, presidential elections, the Democrat has won Pennsylvania. The number of votes, as my friend Greg Giroux at Bloomberg has done some work on, the number of votes coming out of southeastern Pennsylvania, where Democrats do very well, is way up from 1988 and very much not up from other parts of the state where Republicans do well. So it is an uphill battle for Republicans to begin with in Pennsylvania. 6 straight Democratic wins there in presidential elections. And Donald Trump is doing even worse than the normal Republican candidate does. So the idea that if he loses, it's going to be because of some sort of cheating is hard to fathom.
And we know not only is he making these allegations, but now he's even soliciting volunteers to be election observers. We know that each state has their own legal process to become an official election observer, but what legal ramifications does this have by making these claims and calling for these volunteers?
I'm not sure that there's any real legal ramification here. We could see something akin to what we saw in Florida in 2000 during that election, where you had what they called the Brooks Brothers revolution of aides going down to be observers of recounts. There is a level of intimidation, obviously, that comes with observation. But look, there are observations around the world of elections. So as long as people are are responsible about that duty, then it's okay to watch the voting and the counting.
And we should note also, John, that the campaigns actually can send out monitors if they wanted to, right? That's not out of par.
Right. I mean, that's not abnormal at all to have a campaign send people to polling locations to keep an eye on what's going. However, with Donald Trump accusing people of cheating before any ballots are cast, that puts a certain spin on the way that his supporters will look at what's going on in an election.
Yeah, and using those allegations to recruit as well. I want to take a look at some battleground polls that were just out Friday across the board. Shows him down, and the polls from earlier this month kind of show a similar trend. What states do you think are going to be his biggest challenge when it comes to November?
I think all of the typical battleground states that we look at are going to be huge challenges from him, whether you're talking about Virginia or Colorado or North Carolina. If you're talking about some of those places that he thought he was going to pick up in Michigan and Wisconsin, those don't look to be within reach for him at the moment. The one state that seems to continue to be close and closer than the other states in that battleground mix is Florida, where the latest polling has him down about 5 points in Florida. And some of those other states like Pennsylvania, as you mentioned, 10 or 11 points. Virginia, we see something similar. Colorado, we see something similar. So I think the big concern for Republicans right now is that the polling may be undercounting the gap between Clinton and Trump, because there is no Trump organization on the ground in these states. And so when he goes to try to turn voters out, it's going to be very difficult without an organization to do that.